everyone. Welcome to the 4 Awards podcast. We are back for another week of awesome topics. I am joined with 3 fantastic guys, one of whom is still in game because he decided to start one when we had a podcast.
Yes.
Fuck you guys. I need practice. How's it going?
Doom Spikinator is in game.
What's going on?
Haberdashing in Florida. No video today, but that's okay.
No, you can trust that I'm just sunburnt to hell, though.
And Frost is with us as well.
And I'm not in the game because I care about our listeners.
You know what?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Running.
See, I'm on vacation and I even tuned in.
Yeah.
Unlike,
holy cow.
remember when you went on vacation, Doom?
Pepperidge Farm remembers. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get into some news. I'm sure a lot of you guys saw that we were in the client. That was awesome.
Oh my god.
That was exciting.
So
We got the big slot too. We covered like the majority of the client with Forecast Jana T-Force.
I took a picture of that. I'm probably going to frame it.
Then we got defaulted down to the other one for the second day. So we were even up for longer than a day. That was pretty cool. So if you're ever like, hey, you should listen to this podcast, also include Riot endorsed them. Yeah.
The only other podcast was Low Elo.
Mm-hmm. And
There was
they
a-
even-
Really?
That was like way
Yeah,
back.
That was a
Way
long time ago.
back.
It was an
In the
awesome night.
long before.
We had like a lot of new people come into the T-Force chat channel, and everyone was like curious about what we do, and like we got community games going. It was a really fun night.
Oh, yeah, it was really, really cool. Also in the news, we just opened up part of a new tier for Patreon. It is a penny, so you literally can buy our thoughts for a single penny, because, you know, every little bit helps, and it's kind of cool, because, you know, you get a shout-out.
Is there like a reward? I didn't read that, but like, is the reward like, yeah, you get an email with a thought in it, just any random thought.
Any random thought. I think it's funny.
Penny for your thought, yeah.
Quite literally for your thoughts.
And don't forget, guys, keep sending in your reviews via iTunes. We always appreciate them because they help us get better at our show. So let's get right into the Trinket Tip for this week, which is things you can smite.
You know, it's very simple, and I didn't want to go too in depth into smite, but the main thing is that there are a lot of things you can smite, a lot of things you can't smite. So with any smite, you can smite any monsters or any minions. Mm-hmm. You can also smite things such as Annie's Tibbers. You can smite Heimer turrets. You can smite Shaco Jack-in-the-Boxes because they're considered pets. You can smite other champions if you have challenging smite or derp. The
warrior?
No, the other smite, the red smite.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Wasn't that challenging or skirmishers? Or
challenging or chilling smite. Sorry, chilling smite or challenging smite. Otherwise, you are you cannot smite a lot like things that are kind of pets but aren't. You cannot smite Mord's ghosts. You cannot smite Shaco's clone. You cannot smite LeBlanc's clone.
But you can with those special smites that target
with
champions.
The champion ones. But that's kind of
okay, yeah.
But that's it's a complete waste.
Yeah. So just so you know, those are things that you can and can't smite. You can also smite Zach's little bloblets, like when you kill him and he breaks into all the blobs. And if you have the purple smite, yeah, that one's great because it just nukes him. Just boom, he's dead.
You wait till he gets close enough, then you hit one, and then you hit all Trailblazer. Yeah,
I think the Heimerdinger one's arguably like one of the most important. Because it really messes him up.
And Tibbers too, because like Tibbers, like after the buff to Tibbers, where she can activate her E and get that movement speed bonus, Tibbers is, you know, he's kind of a threat, you know, because he can tank turrets and he's worth 50 gold. Like, that's awesome.
True.
For support.
So,
yeah, I think.
Totally. So, yeah, smiting. I think this stemmed from all the people that didn't know that you could smite or thought you could smite champions and ran smite.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, it's so weird. Riot has this weird spaghetti code where there's no real rule. Like, things with health bars you can smite, because that doesn't include, like, Teemo Shrooms, which do have health bars. It's really weird, because I think, like, Zach's Bloblets are considered minions,
Yeah.
which is why you can
Everything's
also
programmed
teleport
as
to
a
them.
minion. Everything's
Yep, Jarvan's flag is considered a minion.
Morgana's Q is a minion. Like, what?
To be fair, that was a bug.
What? Yeah, that
you
was
could,
fun.
yeah.
you could shoot it out, and it would block other skill shots.
Not even kidding.
Got him.
There's a video
I
of it.
forgot
It's
about
so
that.
funny. That was funny.
Slice the wind.
All right, let's get into our main topic, which we're rehashing the idea of team fighting because it is a very in-depth concept. In fact, it's so deep that we're not even probably going to be able to cover the rest of team fighting in this one episode because there's so many intricacies that come into it. So again, we spent some time talking and discussing about the things that we wanted to talk about. So let's just delve right into it.
Should we
We're gonna like
recap
add a. Well, we
what
can
we did
recap
last-
here, but I just want to like
Yeah,
add a
that's good.
disclaimer that like if there's anything that we don't answer, please send us an email.
Yes.
We'll be more than happy to talk with you guys about it because we realize, like we said, this is such a huge topic that there's no way that we can talk about all of it because there's so many umpteen different infinite scenarios in team fighting where any of these rules that we talk about really don't apply.
Part of League is that what makes it so fun is that no two team fights are exactly the same. It's
Yeah,
always
true.
somewhat different each time.
So I read a statistic somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but because there's so many champions, the probability of you getting the exact same team against the exact same team are so high that it's almost guaranteed that it won't happen. Now, that being
Wow.
said, that's because, there's got to be a balance thing, and not all champions are balanced. But if all champions were balanced, there's like the odds of you fighting against a team in the exact same scenario as you had previously are like almost nil because there's so many champions and so many umpteen different types of team fights.
I did not know
Crazy,
that.
right?
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah, and if you have any questions about anything that we say onto tonight's episode, I highly recommend you go back and listen to episode 16. That was our episode on team fighting. So if we say something that's kind of
sort of like the basics. Yeah.
if you're like, oh, what is he talking about? Well, we probably mentioned it in that episode. So.
Yeah, what does he mean by front line, back line? What does he mean? Like things like that we talked in a lot of detail just back in episode 16, so definitely check it out if you are completely lost when it comes to team fights.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump right into it. So the topic we wanted to start out with was, what is your role right now? And this is kind of a broader, or not broad, but like very inquisitive kind of topic,
Yeah, and I think we like touched on this a little bit.
Yeah.
In the last team fighting episode, where your role in the team fight is different from second to second depending on what's going on. Sure, you may be a Malphite that's great at engaging, but it doesn't mean you're always going to use your ult to engage for the team. It all depends on what's going on around you.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of things there's a lot of factors you have to take in. There's a lot of analysis that you as a player have to do. But these are all habits of quality players. Is that ability to assess the things going on and to do the proper choice, to make that proper choice.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we go about figuring out what our role is in any given moment? What are some of the things that we want to look at when we're thinking, okay, what should I do in this team fight?
The first thing,
go ahead.
The first thing I like to do is I sort of have this sort of game plan in my head when I see a bunch of champions grouping up and I have a hunch that something's about to happen. And a lot of it's tricky for newer players because you really need to have a good sense of what other champions' abilities are and what they might do. And also keep in mind, like, they might flash to use their abilities. So, for instance, if I'm a champion that's really squishy and does a lot of damage, I might see that my team is moving into one position right around Dragon, but I see that the enemy threat is over there. I might plan to be in one position and expect them to use their threat gap closer to get to this position. So I'm pre-planning before it. We can get into more detail later, but mostly it's just I like to plan before every engagement of what am I going to do and how might it play out.
Yeah, I mean, I do very similar things. I'm always assessing, what's going on around me, looking at. I try and keep track of cooldowns. when is dragon up? That's a huge thing. I love dragon. A lot of people
yeah.
are like, I love turrets. I love dragon. I love killing dragon.
I love turrets.
I love turrets.
Turrets are pretty cool.
Toots.
But I love dragons, so lots of different things go on in my mind. Where are my wards? That's another big one. Like, I want to fight where my wards are, and a lot of people are like, well, if you want to fight somewhere, just put some wards down. But sometimes it's not always safe to go over there. Sometimes you gotta pick and choose where your battles are gonna be because they control that area, and sometimes that is defaulting to an area that you can win in. So I stick to the ground that I can feel like we can find success on. So.
Well, I think a lot of people overlook the importance of looking at what the enemy team can do and what their skills do. And so, like you're saying with Dragon Control is great. But if you're going against a team that has like a Rumble and a Zac, no, don't worry about them. Just don't worry about them, really. Focus on turrets, focus on like splitting that team up. Because in a 5v5 in a small enclosed area, unless you're stupid ahead, you're going to lose that fight. Yeah. So take fights that you can win. Always look at all the aspects. What do they have off cooldown? Like what? And we talked about this last time a bit, but just always think about the end game. What's the winning condition? Like we were talking about last time.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and it's part of it that you're just gonna have to wait and keep playing games to learn what all the champions do. Like, it's going to come with time, because what are we, 124 champions right now with 4 unique abilities, some
5
very notable
passives. Passes are huge.
Some have notable passives.
Yeah, okay.
Plus your summoner spells, which you should know by the time you're done leveling to 30.
The general theme here is knowledge is power.
Yeah. It's true.
It's huge.
It's also important to know thy enemy and how, picture in your head, if they're going to engage on this, how can they do that with their team? It's important to think that step ahead so that you're able to react to it better. Say like you're Janna and the enemy team has a Kennen plus Fiddlesticks. So your role may be more to, as soon as they start to come in with Cannon's ult and with Fiddlestick's ult, is to immediately use your ult to blow them away. Whereas you're against someone with maybe an Aurelia or a Trundle that's going to want to dive your backline. Wait until they get closer so then you can blow them away with your ulti. It's all about, knowing what that enemy team's going to want to do and how you can negate most of their effectiveness.
I think the big thing we need to talk about is how we a lot of times will say this champion is really great at X or is known for being a peeler or known for doing this. And even in the Janna example, she's most well known for her disengage. But there are very specific scenarios where you do see Janna ults where they flash offensively and knock people back into their team.
Oh, yeah.
So it's while it doesn't sound like on paper, wait, that's not what Janna's for, it's about looking at the situation saying, okay, they're at a position, I have an opportunity here, especially with Flash, to capitalize and punish mistakes. A lot of League of Legends is just realizing when your opponent's made a mistake and then punishing right away.
And those split-second decisions come with an immense amount of experience. Well, I don't want to say an immense amount of experience, but it comes with experience. You don't know that that's possible until it's been done to you. You're like, holy shit, I just got flashed monsooned under their turret and I'm dead. Shit. You would never would have thought Janna was capable of that until it happens to you. And this is going to happen with so many different champions. You're going to see it I didn't even know that champion could do that at all. And go ahead, Doom.
Oh, I was just saying, I mean, that plays into what is your role right now. And say you're Janna and you see that, all right, we can win a straight-up 5v5 team fight. We just need a good engage, and I can engage in this way. That's your job then. Now it's time for you to be the engager. Even though she's usually a peeler, which means that she's going to keep damage, keep people from diving on the back line, and keep you away, and just keep people safe. You know, that's a great example of how your role can change, and it can even change in the middle of a team fight, because Janna can flash in, do that monsoon, but now that the members of the enemy team that got knocked the other way, away from your team, now she needs to worry about peeling them and making sure that they stay back long enough for your team to kill the people that she knocked in to your team, you know? So, you know, and that right there, she instantly switches roles. She flash R's, and then as soon as that R's off, she's, you know, throwing out Q, you know, it's, and peeling. So, you know, you have to constantly be looking at what am I doing right now? What's my main function? How am I going to help my team best?
And I think if you're trying to look for a quick way to identify this, is to start looking towards priorities, either on your team and on the enemy team.
And weaknesses as well, on playing to
exactly.
strengths.
Yeah, this doesn't exactly mean that the priority is always the squishy person in the back line.
No.
Sometimes your priority is making sure that, like, Malphite burns his ult before the team fight, or burns it in a way that's not going to be really effective.
Like defensively.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
For example, the game I was just in, I was J4. They had a Zac jungle. So the Zac was stupid and kept trying to counter jungle me. So my goal was to kill the Zac, or at least get him to burn his ult, because I knew if he burned his ult, that we can't, he can't. They're not gonna do very well in a team fight, a straight up team fight against us. The rest of their team couldn't really stand up against us. You know, they had a Thresh, they had a Ashe, they had a Runeglaive Ezreal, and they had an Echo. You know, the rest of them couldn't do much against us. They're very squishy overall, besides the Thresh. But as long as long as we got on top of the rest of them, I mean, we could nuke them down pretty easy. So if we were able to keep Zac out of the fight, or get his ult out of the fight to where he could, you know, knock us all away from the squishies, then that was a win condition for going in and taking a fight. So
yeah, I want to take this back just a step further and think about identifying your odds of success going into a fight. This it's really tricky, and it's the best thing you can do is to make sure that you nail your part, because it is a 5v5 game. But a lot of times you can recognize when you have an advantage and capitalize on it. So I think we should take a moment to talk about, like, what are some things to look out for on your team versus the enemy team, and your odds of success of winning a team fight.
Okay. I think the one that immediately comes to mind, and unfortunately is the one that needs the most discipline, is looking at team synergy between the characters. Looking, okay, they have a dive comp, they have an engage comp, they have a disengage comp, they have a poke comp, they have a split push, something like that, to show you, like, generally what's going to happen in a team fight. Like, if you have, I'll use this sort of again with Zyra, Fiddlesticks, and Kennen in the same team. That's a really, really powerful AoE engage comp, where if you are in the same place as the rest of their team, if it's a 5-on-5, they have a good advantage. Whereas if you have someone like Blitzcrank, Darius, Janna, and that's no, I wouldn't have him, but you understand. You're looking to pick off one person at a time, and it's when you start to understand those win conditions of, okay, if we do X, Y, Z in a team fight because this is what we're good at, then you'll start seeing, you know, more team fights going your way, because you're not just blindly engaging into a team fight with your team. And
a lot of people, you can start looking at these win conditions as early as champ select. Because when you're choosing your champs, I mean, I understand a lot of times in solo queue, you're just gonna, you know, choose the champ you're comfortable with and that you're trying to climb with and whatever. But you have to look at how is this affecting our team, and how is this going to play into the game and the match and fights overall. There was a really good match today in LCS, Unicorns of Love versus Origin, and I'm not gonna say what happened exactly, but basically one team had a Jace, one team had a Braum, and they had blind picked the Jace mid, and the other team picked Braum for their support. And it was beautiful because it worked out exactly how they wanted it to in Champ Select, which was Braum would use his shield and he'd block those big old late game shock blasts that just chunk you for half your health.
Yeah.
And suddenly Jace really wasn't doing much. Meanwhile, they had an Ezreal and a Corki who were able to outpoke them after Jace uses shock blast, and they had much lower cooldown on their poke than Jace on that shock blast. So, I mean, they ended up being a war of attrition because they played it right. Braum stood right in the front with his shield all the time, ready to put up that shield whenever the shock blast came in, and as in Corki sat in the back line and poked and poked and poked, and then Rek'Sai would just come in from the side and they'd boom. Do an engagement, and that's how every single fight went, and they won every single fight until they just won the game.
Boom, baby.
And boom, baby. But that's you have to look at your strengths and your team's strengths overall, because it doesn't matter even if you're playing solo queue. You can look at, while you're waiting for the game to load in, you can sit there and look at your comp and go, okay, what are we strong at? What am I going to serve best on my team with my ability set, and even look at it as, how am I going to itemize in a way that's going to be most beneficial for our team fights? What way am I going to build? And when you're really focusing on item builds, you're really looking a lot at the mid to late game where those where those team fights are happening. A lot of your item building isn't happening in the laning phase. It's happening in the team fight phase. So as you're buying your items, you really have to do it with the thought of, okay, in a team fight, how does it help us?
Yeah, I want to interject here.
Another.
Sorry, Haber.
Go ahead.
I feel like we're gonna dive more and more into like the different types of compositions and how you respond. But I think something at a fundamental level that you should also consider is just who is strong and who on the enemy team is strong, who has a lot of CS, who has a lot of kills, and that is largely going to dictate where you're going to concentrate your efforts as a team. Like, if I have a Warwick on my team and like we catch someone out, like it might be great if we're doing well to just kill whoever we find. But if we try and take an engagement and then the 9-kill Master Yi is nowhere to be found, and we blow Warwick ult on like a Leona, we might get ourselves killed. And also, you have to keep in mind that a lot of times in solo queue, people get so frustrated when they're like, "Oh my god, the enemy team has so many kills." If all those kills are on like one champion, and then that champion gets caught, all of a sudden the game has changed. Like you can turn around the entire fight.
Well, and that happened in the game I was just in. All the kills were on Zach.
He's not doing anything.
Yeah, it doesn't really help them. It didn't help them. That's why we, like, I started off, I was like 0-4, and I was not.
Doom.
Yeah, it really was. I was not doing well, but then I really focused down, and I really focused on like not over engaging and being careful and stuff, and suddenly I started to outscale the Zac simply because one, J4 does that at least damage wise and utility wise, and two, because I learned how to deal with him, and started looking at what's going to benefit us with that. But another aspect too was properly using my skills, because J4 has two things he can do. He can dive and he can peel. And by dive, I don't mean like tower dive, but I mean like jump into the back line, engage on the back line. So
I think this is something we need to really talk about. And we actually had a listener question that was I'm just going to read it real quick because it's basically this. This is from Bob. He says, I know you briefly...
Bob.
mentioned this on a previous episode, but if you're the only tank on your team, should you be peeling for the carry when behind, or trying to punish their carry in the if they are in the front line? And if I'm ahead, should I be engaging at any possible moment? What if I'm the only person that's ahead? And quite frankly, Bob, this is a great question, but it's not something we can answer with one simple answer.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of assessment on your part, a lot of failures and a lot of successes just to kind of fully grasp like what exactly you need to do. I will say this though, the latter ending part of your question about if I'm the only one ahead, should I engage? That is a definitive no, especially if you're playing a tank, because you're probably not going to win. Perfect example, Zach is a tank and he's really good at causing chaos in a game, but when he's the only one with kills in gold and you force a team fight and your team can't back you up with the damage that they need to be able to do, you're not going to find success pretty much ever.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that I can probably say with certainty, is if you're the only one ahead, try and avoid fights unless they are significantly in your favor, i.e. like they're really low on health for some reason, or and you're
like a Yi who can just clean house.
Yeah, but he was talking about tanks, so like if as a tank,
tanks,
I think you gotta really focus.
Yeah, as a tank, you need to sort of analyze your win conditions for the fight. Like, even though your AD carry may be behind, they still might be the key to your success. And making sure that they stay alive throughout the whole fight could prove to be like that little thing that changes the fight. It also may be the opposite, where you need their AD carry is stronger and they're causing more havoc than your AD carry and the rest of your team can really deal with at the time. And that's why this is just going to have to take like some time just to kind of go in and just make mistakes. But the important thing is to realize what you're doing and then reflect on that afterwards, so that like when a similar situation arises the next time, you're better prepared to deal with it. Because like we can dive in and like watch a replay of you, and like as soon as we see that replay, we can say, okay, this is what you need to do. But it really takes all these different conditions to be taken into consideration to decide, should you go to the back line? Should you stay with your AD carry? It's really dependent on the situation.
Yeah. Like, you're a tank and you're ahead. You're not going to do very well engaging because you're not going to have any follow-up. So you need to focus on, okay.
I mean, that's the important thing. If you are going to engage, though, engage at a distance where the rest of your team can prove useful.
Yeah. 4v2, you're going into, like, you catch someone out. Engage on that single person and kill them.
So let's talk about dive versus peel and what exactly like those mean to players. So the term dive, we kind of talked about it as like I want to say backline engage, but honestly it's going into usually the damage dealer's kind of corner, the enemy damage dealer's corner, and trying to not necessarily kill them, because that may not always be the case, but to disrupt them in whatever way possible. Sometimes that is to straight out kill them. So you'll see, like, talking about assassins, them diving the back line. Their goal is to fuck that person up. That's it. But then you talk about someone else like Vi, who, later in the game isn't going to be doing as much damage. Her entire job is to just lock down somebody.
You're building her correctly.
Yeah, if you're building her correctly. You're trying to lock someone
Assassin
down.
Vi.
I mean, it's pretty fun, but it falls off stupid hard. But anyway. It's your entire job is just to lock someone down so that the rest of your team can deal with the other people. And we're going to talk about priorities in a bit, and I feel like this is an opportunity to talk about it. But basically, if you're going to dive somebody, the person you're going to want to be diving is the person with the most priority, like the highest priority, to stop them from doing whatever it is that they are planning on doing, whether it be diving your backline or doing a shit ton of damage to your entire team. So there's a lot of factors that go into who you will dive.
Yeah, not all, like when you're deciding priority. Like I'll sort of touch on this right now. We'll get to it later. Like it's important that you're diving someone that has high priority and relative low risk. I mean, relatively low. I mean, because like let's take the example of Vi. So what if you get on the enemy AD carry if they also have a Janna that's immediately going to knock you off of them, and then you're just in a shit place for the rest of your team.
Or you're J4 and you flash flag drag ult into their team, and your whole screen away from the rest of your team.
Yeah,
I think the priority system, like this, actually is the best way I think to answer Bob's question. Is it's not about whether or not you're ahead or not. It's what the priorities are. So if your whole team is doing incredibly well, except there's that one Vayne on the enemy team that's like starting to get stupid fed and she's just killing everyone, you can make it your priority to use whatever CC you have possible to get people on top of her. And then if the rest of your team's doing well and you've got a good team comp, you can probably get by as long as she's dealt with. That's a great situation to be like, all right, Solar Flare, and then get the Zenith Blade and just jump in and like lock her down, and then the rest will be easy peasy.
Well, and even besides that, okay, so their Vayne is really strong, and she decides to start, going and split pushing towers, and this is where like, the name of the podcast is 4 words. If that in itself doesn't stress that vision is imperative, I don't know what will. You have to focus on vision, because if you see that fed person and they're not near you, and you see people you can engage the hell out of that fight, because their most fed asset is not going to get in that fight. And if you win that fight, and before their fed person can come into the fight, I mean what are they gonna do?
Yeah, 1 against 4. So I mean, this is all referring to like you got to prioritize the right target, and always knowing who the right target isn't like that's not always easy. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been like, why in the world did I just blow my combo on that champion? Like that was not the right call, and like you'll have those moments. So you got to figure out like who to prioritize, and that's that's really important. Some of the we touched on some of the steps to do that, but oftentimes a lot of the big priorities will be, if you're an engager or a diver, are going to be like the ADCs or the mid laners, the people that do exponential damage. Now that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes the Riven up in the top lane is going to need to be a priority as well, but it's just evaluating who has the most strength, who will hurt your team the most in whatever way possible. Sometimes it's just like this person's going to displace us, or like if the Janna flashes into your team and is ready for a monsoon, like see, that would be an opportunity for you to be like, oh shit, I need to shift priorities real quick so that I can stop this Janna from doing what she's been doing. Or like the Annie, for example. This happens all the time. I saw X Special just the other day carried a game pretty much by himself because of Annie, and like people were prioritizing the ADC and the mid laner, but the support would be flashing in with Tibbers. Like, it's all about who will do the most damage to your team, or not necessarily damage, but who will like fuck with your team,
ruin your day,
ruin your day, basically. So let's talk about Peel on the opposite side. Peel is stopping the person that's diving you for the most part. Usually, that's what generally Peel is if you're getting if a person is being dove on and you want to stop them from doing that, you peel them off, basically like peeling a banana. You're peeling them off of that champion. And there's a lot of different types of peel. Some of it is just CC. Sometimes it's just outright blowing somebody up and just bursting them down. That's a form of peel. Forcing them to disengage, that's another form of peel. So peel is kind of broad.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up the example I used before, but flip it. So you're that team now that has a very strong Vayne or a strong AD carry, but the rest of your team is kind of lackluster. Like, didn't do that well in lane, maybe you're behind in gold. If their team is largely based around trying to get to that AD carry, like that's their strategy, like it'll be way more valuable for you to save your Zenith Blade and your Shield Bash and your Exhaust for that Riven that's trying to get to your AD carry, because if they use everything to try and get to her and your carry still lives, they're going to be messed up.
Yep.
especially if it's
Yeah.
an AD carry. Like, we talked about this before. AD carries are generally the best at taking objectives, dragons, towers, inhibitors, all that good stuff. If you're if the person that you need to be alive most is your ADC and you don't peel for that person because, I don't know, one, you're stubborn, you may not know, whatever, you're going to have a really, really, really bad time. So peeling is immaculately important.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you're peeling, you're saying it to yourself and to your team. This person on my team is the most integral part to our success in a team fight and in this game. So therefore, I need to make sure that they live through it, whether it's the AD carry, AP carry. It's generally not going to be your support, but it may be some other people too.
You don't always have to be a tank to come to this decision either. A lot of mid laners and just champions with CC in general. Like, if you're playing
CC,
Lux or TF, for instance, because we play a lot of them, saving that gold card or that binding for the person who's diving your ADC, that can be a game-winning crowd control. Just stunning the priority that tries to kill your carries.
Mm-hmm. Or Trundle, throw up that well-timed pillar or that well-placed pillar and just boom.
Knock him into the air for 20 seconds.
For you mid laners out there, I really want to emphasize the idea of peeling for your ADC because it is very important. I don't like the whole mentality of I am a carry, so I need to carry. That's not how this game works at all. This is a team game, and it's going to go on a side rant here, but I am very, I'm kind of sick of the mid mentality of I gotta just do all the damage I can do and I gotta ignore my utility. One of the reasons I play Lux is because she has so much utility. You want to know why I love this champion so much? Is that exact reason. I can do so much for my team, and this is important.
That's the only reason.
It's one of the biggest reasons, and it's really important, especially in team fighting, for you to make sure your priorities are straight.
But brah, I gotta carry, brah.
Yeah, brah.
Carry, brah.
Brah. Carrying doesn't mean doing the most damage. Yeah, carrying simply means helping your team to win, brah.
Brah. I didn't know that, brah. Thank you, brah.
Wow. Okay, I'm enlightened now, brah. Thanks, brah.
I don't think we need to put ADCs on this high of a pedestal, though. I think we should say that.
I think we should.
If we do have if you have a 8-kill Cassiopeia in mid lane and your Ezreal's 0-2. I am way more concerned with keeping her alive.
I'm being broad because I don't want to. I'm saying it because this never happens. I never see a mid laner peel for an ADC, ever. Even when the ADC is stupid fed and the mid laner is not. It's this whole mentality of this isn't just about me. This is about my team. And I totally agree. If you're the fed one, then yeah, you should be doing the damage, and people should be peeling for you. But it's all about priorities. And the mid lane mentality of I gotta peel or I gotta carry because I'm a carry is I want that. I want you guys to not think that way because that's not the proper way to think. I mean, this is said for ADCs as well. What if you're playing someone like Varus or early game Vayne where you're just not as strong? And say the TF or the Lux in the mid lane are really fed. You should be using your CC to help them, complete their goal of, okay, this guy's doing an extra, they're doing good damage. I should help them do more damage. It's a relationship between you guys. Carries are carries, but you got to help each other out.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of carries especially in a team fight, the most important thing is your positioning and the way that you're going to enter a fight. And depending on what you are, say that you're an assassin, this is where flanking really comes into play. And this is kind of a strategy within a team fight strategy. And it's niche. It's for certain types of champs. Either for secondary engages usually, or for an assassin. But flanking is one. It really I don't know.
It's good for
what do you
it's
think?
good for a lot of champions actually. Like it just depends. Like so for
It's
example,
really great for champions that don't have innate gap closers,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
can still make a huge difference
Like-
once they get into the fight. Like Evelyn.
Or I mean, I flank with Lux. Like if I'm like I really need to like this Vayne is destroying us. I need to lock her down as best as I can. I'll flank. Like I'll pull that side bullshit and hide in a brush and wait for her to get a little too close, watch her movement and be like, all right, I know exactly where she's going to go. I'll get my combo down. Like flanking, the whole idea aspect of flanking is to get around the wall that is in the front. So you're like, I want to get up here, but I'm stuck down here. So just go around. That's the whole idea of flanking is to get that angle on them when you can.
But
Yeah.
once again, in order to successfully flank, what do you need?
Wow.
Vision.
Bruh.
Wards and also removing of their
Yeah.
wards so that you
Yeah.
can
That
successfully flank.
Vision denial.
Yes.
This is important. So let's talk about what happens when the engages don't exactly go our way, because oftentimes you're not always going to get those solid engages, or you might get engaged on and you're like, oh shit, we are fucked. So
Yeah.
the idea of disengaging and retreating, getting out of a situation, oftentimes
Never retreat. Go
I mean-
ham all the time. Oh, 14
Are you-
Rainbow.
I mean, are you talking about like right after the engage happens, or are you talking about like when you've decided to turn tail and run?
I mean, kind of
'Cause I
both.
think-
like
Well, I mean, chances are, like, if you throw out a bad Sedge ult, people are probably still going to go in.
it's possible. Oh yeah, totally. Comes to mind. Dom no longer was playing. Dom on Team Liquid no longer playing Sejuani because he's sick of throwing at the Alistair. So yes, this is definitely a thing. I mean, I suppose there's. I guess retreating is really like once you're already in the fight, and disengaging is like I totally fucked that up. We should probably
Yeah.
leave. Type of deal.
Well, I think it's even if the engaged right after the engage, you should take a second to analyze what needs to be done next. If it didn't, let's say it didn't go well, see what else you have left as far as resources for abilities, health, where the enemy champions are, if they have a strong possibility and strong potential to counter engage now. And sometimes you will be better off just retreating. I agree.
Sometimes you're at a disadvantage when they take an engage on you, and a lot of times they have a window of opportunity to punish you and then get a massive lead as the result of a team fight. The most common example I see of this is when you're going for like a turret or an inhib and you're just kind of overstaying.
Yeah.
Like that's the moment.
turret.
We can
I just wanted it's only a few more hits. So this is where champions with really good disengage super excel,
Yeah.
because it could mean the difference between them like charging forward and then getting an ace on you because you got too greedy. Having that Nami wave, having that Janna ult, things like that can just. The enemy team's like really wants to pull the trigger and kill all of you, and having that disengage means you can get the objective and get out, which is huge.
It's
And-
kind of like your ace up your sleeve.
Yeah, and
in
remember,
case things start to go wrong.
you don't always need to have a champion that is trademark disengaged. Like Sejuani is awesome at disengaging, believe it or not, because she doesn't always need to use her Glacial Prison as an engagement tool. If you get jumped on and you notice your carry's getting fucked, then it might be a good opportunity to just be like, all right, we're dipping. Ping the back sign, blow your ult, and just
The
get the hell
ping,
out of
I
it.
am so glad you said that. The ping is
please
so
ping.
important.
If you're
Ping.
if like especially if you're a tank and you're like we need to get out of this situation, please ping, because you blowing your ult may not necessarily like to some people that means
Yeah.
go. To other
Yeah.
people that means not go.
Every game, every game it happens without fail. You try to go in to use something and everyone starts to turn back around. And you're just like, well, why the fuck you guys turn around? I don't know. I thought we were going back and engaging. No, I was trying to peel for you assholes.
So ping, use your ping.
It happens all the time.
No,
Well, it's-
okay. Next week's
yeah.
Trinket Tip, we are talking about smart pings.
Yeah,
We're gonna
I agree. I like that idea.
Lots of disclosure on smart pings.
But like for example, I really like to play Maokai, and Maokai, he can engage very well, but he can disengage and he can peel very well because you can, twist advance and root someone down, and you can use your arcane smash to
Exactly.
just push people away from everyone.
Alright.
or you can throw up your ult to, give your team those extra defensive stats so that you're going to survive when they're sitting there trying to, go on you, or you can throw that sapling in the way to slow them as they're advancing and stuff. Always think creatively of what your champ can do with their abilities, because everyone can play a lot different than what you think, depending on the situation that you need them to be.
And this
go for it.
Okay, this whole mentality is thinking of like what we need in this moment. Like we're talking about disengages because that's kind of what we're talking about. But like when you see this moment arise, when you're like, oh shit, I need to dip out. You gotta be thinking on your toes, knowing like, okay, my champion we could disengage here. I could use some spells to disengage. And it's this whole idea of analyzing what's going on in the game and then moving forward with your abilities to make these things happen.
Yeah, I want to say here, I don't think we specifically wrote this down, but this is something we have to talk about. One of the smartest ways to just like take advantage of a situation are active items. Active items are huge, and especially in this example we're just talking about, you could have a clean ace on your team and lose massive objectives, whereas just having a talisman at the right time or a righteous glory could completely change that because you identified an opportunity to escape or engage.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It's Randuin's on the same page with
totally.
that.
I think also we didn't quite touch on this before, and I think it would be remiss if we didn't mention this. A lot of times when it comes to flanking and assassins and threats, having an hourglass ready and understanding the right time to use your Zhonya's hourglass it means it's life or death, and that can be team fight life or death.
Or Quicksilver Sash for you ADCs and or top laners, and or junglers. Mikhails, yep. Mikhails is huge. I don't see it being bought very often, but if you're good with Mikhails, holy shit, you can do some amazing things. Like, I've seen some amazing plays get pulled off just by good Mikhails. It's nuts.
Yeah.
My favorite item in this game is Zhonya's hourglass.
I'm right there with you, man.
It's a piece of bullshit.
I have the biggest.
It's amazing.
I love it. It's a beautiful item. Absolutely beautiful.
It saves your life in ways, and it lets you make plays that you just physically can't do with the champion's kit alone. It actually makes you like a different champion because of how good that active is.
I love that item so much that I sometimes build it on ADCs. If I know I'm getting dove a lot and this champion has something that scales with
Is
AP,
it going to be are you going to mention Rengar?
Shit, I mean, I'll build it on Rengar too.
No, what I'm saying is against Rengar, like I feel sometimes I'm just
totally.
like, the exclamation point's above my head. I'm dead. Oh wait, I'm golden.
Literally.
You know what? That was my problem. AP Rengar.
That was a thing.
I'm not gonna.
Wait,
yeah,
no?
I'm not gonna. If it works for you, that's fine. We don't have enough time to argue about.
But yeah, actives are important. That's what I'm
building
just trying to
Zhonya's
say.
on an 80 carry.
Hey, man,
here.
don't hate, man.
I'm saying we don't have enough time to talk about it right now. That'll be happy hour talk.
I do it on AP carries.
That sounds good. Okay, so we have a priority system that we kind of laid out, and we should touch on it as our last little bit for this podcast. So Haber came up with a really cool kind of priority system. So let's talk
I
about
really
it.
like finding analogies to help people understand stuff. So when you're trying to decide like the priorities for who to focus in a team fight, I like to use the analogy of your wanted level in Grand Theft Auto, where you range between like 1-star and 5-star, I believe. So like your 1-star is your high risk and low priority target. So think of like a Malphite with his ult down, a supports in general, and then you have like your 5-stars, which are your relatively lower risk and higher priority. This is your AD carry that is out of position, your mid laner that doesn't have Zhonya's or Flash anymore, things that people that are going that can really change a team fight. And you can take out very easily. And it's really these split-second decisions that you really need to make, because their priority can change within that little split second, because, they can flash out of the way. They can get back to the safety of their team. They can use your ult to engage on you. But it's really important, if you want to start winning team fights, to assign certain values to the enemy team for what needs to happen. And that's where you're going to come up with your win conditions, by saying who's the highest priority. And it's not always the AD carry or the AP carry. I consider a Sejuani or a Malphite with those really big team fight ults a big threat and a big priority to try to get to them before the team fight starts, or get on them as to start the team fight, because then they have to use their ults defensively or to disengage, and at that point you have the team fight.
Yeah, so a lot of times priorities, you can even evaluate what a priority might be, going into a team fight. Like, for example, if someone mentioned in chat that they love watching, someone blow Zonias when there's four enemy champions standing around them. If I see someone that blew Zonias and I'm just waiting, that for the next minute or so that champion is going to be easy pickings because they don't have a Zonias. So and that's just.
Well, I think you meant if someone is stupid and presses their Zonias way too early, and and they're just stuck there for 2 seconds.
Exactly.
And,
But that going in, being okay, so in the next team fight, if we do it quick enough, that person's not going to have Zonias, and that could be an easy priority for us because that's an easy target. We'll be able to take them out fairly easily because they don't have a way of stopping our damage. So these are things you can think about, being, thinking forward.
Absolutely.
Forward.
Wait,
yeah.
forward?
What? Yeah, sorry. Position is such a huge thing, and you'll get better at recognizing when someone is in or out of position, and that is really dependent on them and the rest of the team, how quick they can get back to the team or how quickly their team can get to them. But if you're like an assassin, or can get onto them, or can hook them away, or something really quickly in that half a second where they're not where they should be, you'll be in such a better place to start winning team fights.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think something we said at the start of the episode, and I'll reiterate again because it's true, is just that knowledge is everything. It's one of the things that separates the higher level players from the lower level players, is being able to look at a situation and know, okay, we have an opportunity to do this, or, oh crap, if I'm standing in this position, I might get Ashe ulted. And you don't know until, a lot of times you don't know until you have that day where you make the mistake, or you have that fuck up. And then you just teach yourself, okay, I fucked up because I did this. Going forward, next time I'll do this. And that's how you get better at this game.
Yeah, learn from your mistakes. Intuition also plays a huge role into this as well. I think intuition is really important, especially in a game like League of Legends, where it's just so vast. Players can be good, but if you're intuitively good, then that's a whole nother level. Just being able to think outside the box and be like, all right, this guy's pretty, he's not super unpredictable, but I think I might be able to get him. For one, I really like juking, so I'll try and bait people into doing stuff, just by hanging out in front and being like, yeah, just try and grab me, Blitz.
Hey.
You're not going to get it. Just keep going. Keep blowing mana. Keep, doing that sort of thing. And it's this whole idea of, I'm playing on what I feel like I'm good at. I don't think I'm the best decision maker, but I have that intuition. I feel like I can make him do things just by, doing things, So
I totally agree with Froz. Knowledge is power. France is bacon.
I like bacon. Bacon's pretty
That's
good.
all I wanted to say. I love saying that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, sorry.
I think that'll probably wrap up tonight's episode. Guys, remember, if you have any questions for us, please feel free to email us in. And if you feel like we missed something about team fights, also, let us know. I know there is some stuff that we didn't cover, like turret diving.
There's so much.
Plenty
A
of
lot,
stuff that
actually.
we didn't talk about. So if there's anything in particular you really want to hear, feel free to write in and let us know. So I think that'll do it. Thanks for joining us, guys, and have a good one.
Bye, guys.
See you
Thank you.
later.
Bye-bye.